Jake from Tiny Nest here. We get tons of questions in comments and emails about our drainage because we've been living in the tiny house at first part-time, but mostly full-time for about 2.5 years now. And for most of that time, we've had running water. So where does the water go once it goes down the drain? As we often say, we will show more details in an upcoming video when we actually make an entry in our building series, showing the whole inside installation and how we penetrated through the floor and all the rest of it. But we thought we'd finally make at least a brief overview of what we have set up right now. So why don't you join me on a magical journey underneath the tiny house. So this has gone through several iterations. There's been a lot of trial and error, and some of the sort of temporary configurations we had in the past didn't really work out so well. They were kind of embarrassingly bad, to be honest, which is part of the reason that we haven't shown this before. But this is working pretty well. I'm sure it's not the best possible setup, and you guys will let us know in the comments if you see any room for improvement. But basically, it's mostly made up of 1.5-inch sump pump tubing or hose, which I sort of stumbled across in the hardware store. It just comes in a bag of like 25 feet. And because it's 1.5 inches, it connects and adapts really easily to the drainage piping coming out of the bottom of our sinks. So this is the bathroom sink right here, and down at the far end there is the kitchen sink. And it basically, well, it came with a couple of these barbed fittings, and all I had to do was glue on a female threaded little adapter onto regular 1.5-inch pipe. And then you just thread this in one end, and it's got a barb on the other end which accepts the tubing. You just sleeve it over, put pipe clamp on, and that's pretty much how all of this is connected. And down at that end where the two drains meet, there's just a T that's all barbs, and so it's really easy to just connect the hoses on. And this is also going to be easy to add into in the future. When we finally get the shower figured out, we can just add another T, and then the shower drain can go onto it and just all interconnect. So we wanted both the literal and figurative flexibility of this kind of tubing, because we didn't really know exactly how we were going to configure it, and also we didn't know which direction the final drain needs to go in. So this made it really easy to work with and get something figured out. Initially, when I was putting in this tubing, especially down for the kitchen sink, I had it just suspended from the cross members of the trailer in increasingly lower suspensions, and to create the slope. But the tubing is actually so flexible that it started to droop under the weight of the water, and collect water like that in between the suspensions. So I just recently chopped up some scrap wood and made these ramps basically, and then just used some duct tape to center the pipe and both keep it held down and in an even slope. So now we've got it set up in a way that feels pretty reliable, in the sense that if with that droop, if it's collecting water like that in the winter, which is coming up pretty quick here, if that froze, then there could be a blockage on that part of the drain. So I think we've solved that issue. So we'll show where the final drain ends up in a sec, but I wanted to point out this, which is basically the drain for the pee. We're very close to finally setting up our composting toilet bucket system for going number 2, but for a long time now, we have had it set up to pee in the tiny house, and it comes through its own drain down here. And because that tubing is smaller, I just adapted that to a thread that would accept a garden hose female end. So that's just screwed on. We just cut, you know, a piece of garden hose here and put on its own custom bits and bobs to make it work. And this is a bit of a hack job that I just drilled into this piece of solid piping and like threaded it in the side. I need a proper adapter, but it actually sealed quite well. So for now, I mean, it's working fine, so I'm gonna leave it. And because the drain, like the funnel and the tubing that's inside the toilet box is very low and goes straight through the floor, there's no room for a P-trap or an S-trap to have a water seal, like standing water inside, which means we had to do it down here, which is why I've got this suspended up so that it, you know, it swoops down and then back over so that there is always liquid in there. But of course, that will easily freeze in the winter. But because it's a small hose like this, we're going to put electric heat tape on it to keep it from freezing. We've got an outdoor plug right back here, so it'll actually be really easy to do that, and that's the only spot down here that's gonna need that. Now we're on the other side of the house from where we started, and we've got the kitchen sink drain, bathroom sink drain coming together, and then this is the final drain that goes off. We'll show you where it goes, but it kind of magically disappears here because we dug a trench all the way out to its final spot so that it is covered. We didn't make the trench perfectly angled to have an even slope like we've gone to the effort to do here where it's above ground, because underground it should be protected from freezing, because I know we say this all the time, and it does, like last winter it was actually quite cold and it snowed a lot and everything, but it doesn't get cold enough to really freeze the ground solid and like freeze deep into the ground, like the frost line or whatever. It shouldn't be an issue here. Pretty minimal cover should protect it, and we'll find out this winter if there's any issue with that. But I'll show you where it goes from here. All right, so Kiva is standing on the other side of the fence, just a few feet from where I was just squatting down there. And so the line comes down here, and I mean, it's funny actually. We did a pretty good job of covering the trench initially, but I think the rain kind of sunk it in, so you can probably see it here, but we came all the way to here. There's an existing, is this a rose bush? So there's a big bush here, and we went straight through it onto the other side in here. So why don't you just come down here? So this, don't go in there. Get out of there. So this is a good little spot where there's some bushes to soak it up. And it's crazy, you can't even see it now because it's so lush here actually. I think throughout the whole summer it stayed, while everything else dried out to a crisp, this stayed pretty lush. It actually doesn't even really smell that bad. I think I can smell it like a tiny bit. But I don't know what you can see in the shot, but we basically just dug a big hole, had the tube come into the hole. We dumped a bunch of drainage rock, just like some coarse gravel in there as well, just so that it wouldn't cave in and get all mucked up or something. And that's just what we have now, and it's been fine. We would maybe like to dig another trench out to the swale on the property, which is just kind of like a sort of, it's kind of like a ditch, but not so pronounced. It's just like a slope in the terrain to naturally drain excess water on the property. Bren, get out of there. Smelly things. You like smelly things. Oh my God. So that's pretty much it. There shouldn't be much in the way of debris or material to get clogged in the tubing, or to come out here and like rot or get all nasty. Like I'm talking from the sink, kitchen sink mostly, because there's a really nice little built-in kind of filter debris catcher thing in the drain, which we empty like pretty much every time we do dishes. It catches a bunch of stuff, just toss that in the garbage. So only the tiniest fragments of stuff will ever even make it into the tubing. Also, we've mentioned this in other videos, but it's relevant to this obviously, that everything that goes down our drains is like maintains a gray water status, meaning that like our dish soap is biodegradable, the abrasive powdered cleaner that we use in the bathroom sink is biodegradable. We don't cook any meat, so there's no like raw meat juices with bacteria and stuff going down the drain. Also, like pee would be gray water anyway, but we're not on any medications where our bodies are expelling anything through our pee that could cause some kind of hazard. So yeah, that's pretty much all I can think of. That's our drainage system that we have so far. Was that good? Shh, 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 shh.
Hey, you guys, cut it out. Stop it.